How Trump rose to the peak of power. Before Donald Trump reached the most powerful office on earth, he learned one dangerous truth. In America, power does not always belong to the quietest, the smartest, or even the most respected. Sometimes, power belongs to the man people cannot stop watching. And Donald J. Trump made sure the world could never look away. He was born in Queens, New York, far from the marble halls of Washington, but close enough to Manhattan to see the towers rising like monuments to ambition. For most people, New York is a city. For Trump, it became a battlefield. His father, Fred Trump, built real estate. Buildings, rent, contracts, deals. That was the language of the family business. And from a young age, Donald Trump understood that money alone was not enough. Money could buy buildings, but fame could build a kingdom. In the 1970s and 1980s, Trump moved into Manhattan with one mission: to make his name impossible to ignore. Trump Tower was not just a building, it was a message. Gold letters, marble walls, luxury elevators, cameras waiting outside, reporters asking questions.
Every detail said the same thing: I am bigger than the room. Some people saw confidence, some saw arrogance. But Trump understood something most businessmen did not. If the public remembers your name becomes currency. And he turned Trump into a brand before many Americans even understood what personal branding was. There were victories, there were failures, there were bankruptcies, lawsuits, scandals, comebacks, and endless headlines. But every time critics thought Trump was finished, something strange happened. He survived, and survival became part of the myth. The more people talked about him, the larger he became. The more they attacked him, the more his supporters believed he was being attacked because he was powerful. By the time television came calling, Trump was already more than a businessman. He was a character. Then came The Apprentice. America watched him sit at the head of the table like a king in a corporate throne room. Contestants begged for approval. The room went silent. And then came the line that turned into a cultural weapon: "You're fired." That moment changed everything. Millions of Americans no longer saw Trump only as a developer from New York. They saw him as the boss, the man who made decisions, the man who punished weakness, the man who looked across the table and controlled the room. Television did not just make Trump famous. It prepared America to imagine him as a leader. Then, in 2015, Trump stepped onto an escalator inside Trump Tower and announced he was running for president. At first, many people laughed. They said it was a publicity stunt. They said he would never win. They said politics was too serious for a reality TV star. But Trump heard something the political class did not. He heard anger. He heard workers who felt forgotten. He heard people who believed Washington had abandoned them. He heard Americans who were tired of polished speeches, careful language, and politicians who sounded like they had been trained never to say anything real. Trump did not speak like them. He spoke like a fight. He gave his movement a simple phrase: "Make America great again." To his supporters, it sounded like a promise. To his critics, it sounded like a threat. But no one could deny its power. In 2016, Donald Trump shocked the world. He defeated Hillary Clinton and became the 45th president of the United States. That night, American politics changed forever. The businessman had beaten the political machine. The television star had conquered Washington. The outsider had entered the most protected room in the world. And for Trump, it was not just a victory. It was proof. Proof that attention could defeat experience. Proof that emotion could defeat calculation. Proof that a man dismissed by elites could turn public anger into presidential power. His first presidency was not quiet. It was constant conflict. Every day brought a new headline.
Every speech became a battle. Every tweet became news. Trump attacked the media. He challenged institutions. He reshaped the Supreme Court. He pushed hard on immigration. He cut taxes. He broke diplomatic traditions. He demanded loyalty. To his supporters, he was finally doing what other politicians were too afraid.
To his enemies, he was damaging the foundations of American democracy. But both sides had one thing in common. They could not stop watching him. That was Trump's greatest political weapon. He did not need everyone to love him. He only needed everyone to react to him. And America reacted every single day. Then came 2020. A pandemic shook the country. Fear spread faster than facts. The economy suffered. Families were divided. Trust collapsed. And when Trump lost the 2020 election to Joe Biden, the most dangerous chapter of his political life began. He refused to accept the result. He claimed the election had been stolen. Courts rejected many of the claims. Officials from both parties said there was no evidence of widespread fraud that would change the outcome. But millions of people still believed him. And then came January 6th. The Capitol was attacked by a mob of Trump supporters while Congress was certifying the election results. For many Americans, it looked like the end of a political era. Trump was impeached for a second time. Critics said he had gone too far. Commentators said his power was broken. Washington believed the Trump story was finally over. But they were wrong. Because Trump had built something stronger than a campaign. He had built loyalty. Imagine him walking through a silent corridor. Washington on the wall. Lincoln watching from a frame. Roosevelt in the shadows. Reagan smiling from history. Every portrait seems to ask, how did you get here?
And Trump keeps walking. Because his answer is simple. I never left. After leaving office, Trump faced investigations, lawsuits, criminal charges, and a felony conviction in New York. For any normal politician, this would have been the end. But Trump was not a normal politician. Every courtroom became a campaign stage. Every accusation became a fundraising message. Every legal battle became part of a larger story he told his supporters. They are not only coming after me, they are coming after you. That sentence was powerful because it transformed Trump from a candidate into a symbol. To critics, he was a man escaping accountability. To supporters, he was a fighter being punished by a system they already distrusted. And that was the secret of his comeback. Trump did not ask America to forget the chaos. He asked his supporters to see the chaos as proof that he was still dangerous to his enemies.
By 2024, many people believed he could not return. He had lost an election. He had been impeached twice. He had been criminally convicted. He had survived assassination attempts. He was surrounded by controversy. But Trump understood the psychology of American politics better than his opponents wanted to admit. He knew that millions of voters did not want calm. They wanted revenge. They wanted disruption. They wanted someone who would walk into Washington like a storm and make the people they blamed feel afraid. Trump did not campaign like a man asking for a second chance. He campaigned like a man returning to reclaim what he believed was his. And in November 2024, he did it. Donald J. Trump was elected the 47th President of the United States. The comeback was historic. A former president who had been defeated, impeached, convicted, and written off by many returned to the White House. For his supporters, it was redemption. For his opponents, it was a warning. For history, it was one of the most dramatic political returns America had ever seen. So how did Trump reach the peak of power? He did it by understanding America's hidden hunger. The hunger for strength. The hunger for spectacle. The hunger for someone to blame. The hunger for a leader who did not sound like a politician. He understood that in the modern age, politics is not only about policy. It is about attention. It is about identity. It is about emotion.
It is about who can dominate the screen, the conversation, and the anger of a nation. Trump mastered all three. Business made him rich. Television made him famous. Politics made him powerful. Conflict made him unforgettable. Late at night, imagine the Oval Office quiet. No cameras, no crowd, no applause. Only the desk, the flag, the silence. And a man who spent his entire life turning his name into a symbol. From Queens to Manhattan.
From real estate to television. From television to politics. From defeat to comeback. From outsider to president. From president to defeated former president. And then, impossibly, back to president again. That is not just a political career. That is an American drama. Donald Trump rose to the peak of power because he understood something terrifyingly simple. In a divided country, the man who controls the anger controls the stage. And the man who controls the stage can control history. He did not become powerful because everyone believed in him. He became powerful because nobody could ignore him. His supporters saw a savior. His enemies saw a threat. But both sides kept saying his name.
And in the age of television, social media, and endless outrage, a name repeated enough times can become a force. Trump's rise was not clean. It was not quiet. It was not traditional. It was loud, controversial, ruthless, emotional, and deeply American. He climbed through money. He climbed through fame. He climbed through conflict. He climbed through scandal. He climbed through defeat.
And when the door to power seemed closed forever, he kicked it open again. In the end, Donald Trump did not simply reach the top of American power. He changed what power looked like. He proved that in modern America, the path to the White House no longer has to begin in government. It can begin in a tower, in a television studio, in a slogan, in a crowd's anger, in a nation's fear, and in one man's refusal to disappear. This is how Trump rose to the peak of power, not by becoming what America expected, but by becoming what America could not stop watching.